So that's a really good starting point. We can move around, we can jump, but it's not very clean or polished for our character at the moment at all. So there are a few things we can do to improve this. We can add running animations. We can make our character turn the direction they're facing when we move left and right. Also, our character is very small in the middle of the screen right now, so we are going to use a camera to make it easier to see. And the other problem with that is our character disappears off the side of the screen and it doesn't follow. So we're going to use a camera to help sort that out. So let's start with the camera, I think. Over in the scene tree, I will right click on the player, I will add a child node, and I will add a camera. Camera 2D, create. Now I'm going to zoom out slightly. So this purple rectangle that has appeared is our camera view. So if I run the game at the moment, and if I move left and right, it now looks like the player is not moving because this camera is actually attached to the player and is following them. So for now, because my scene is completely empty, I'm actually going to unattach the camera from the player and I will just drag it onto level. So the camera will just sit still. But what I'll do is I'm going to go into the camera. So I will click on the camera and go into the inspector properties here. And I'm going to set the zoom level to, let's say 4 perhaps. And now if I run the game, we are at least more focused on the player and can see a bit more of what's happening with them at the moment. So next, I think it would be good to add some code that gets our player's direction flipping when we're running. So when we're going left, I want the player to face left. And when we go right, I want the player to face right. So let's close this and let's go back over to our script view. In fact, before we do this, let me explain. So if I go to the 2D view here and zoom in on the player, what we are going to do to make our player flip is change its scale. So we're going to, if I unlock this temporarily, if I make this scale value -1, it actually flips which way the player is facing. So we're just going to change that, but within the code. So back in our script, I'm actually going to go just over here. So underneath this var direction part, because I'm going to use this direction variable that the Godot created for us to help us know which way the player is facing, and so therefore change the way that they're facing. Now, all you need to know about this direction variable is that when we press the left key, the value is going to equal -1. And when we press the right key, it's going to equal 1. And when we press no key, so no input, direction equals 0. So we'll use that logic to help us flip our character. So to actually flip the player's direction, first of all, we're going to need to go into our player scene. And within this script, we need a reference to our animated sprite 2D. What I mean by that, to make it really easy, is if you just click and drag this animated sprite 2D node over here into your code, but hold the control key and then let go, it's going to add a reference to our animated sprite into the game. So what we can do now is we've created a variable for our sprite and we can now modify the properties of it. So we're going to flip the scale property of the animated sprite within our script. So what we'll say now is we're going to say if the direction is greater than 0. Now remember this direction value here becomes 1 when we press the right key. So that means that we want our animated sprite's scale on the X to be 1 whenever we're going to the right. When we're going to the left, so we'll say else if or elif. So else if the direction is less than 0, and remember direction is -1 when we press the left key. So we're going to want to flip our animated sprite at this point. So animated sprite scale X equals -1. We run this. When I press the left key, he faces left, and I press right, he faces right. Cool. So now how about we add some extra animations for our character? So if I go back to the 2D view, and if I go to the animated sprite and select the sprite frames, we're going to add some new animations. So let's click this little button here for add animation. I'm going to call this one run. And what we'll do now with run selected is we can go to our little waffle here to add frames, and I will select the run sheet, open that. And again, what we want to do is separate these out properly. So it looks like we've got 12 different sprites. So let's do 12 up here, and it's only one row. There we go, they're all separated. And if we select all the frames and add them in, now if we hit play, we can preview this animation. Now again, that's like slow motion. So I'm going to increase the FPS here to 20. Oh, that's got a decimal now. Let's make that 20. And I think that'll be good. So now we've got two animations for our character. We've got one where he's idle and one where he's running. And we need to use some code to change that so that it changes animation when we're playing the game. So if we go back to the script, just below our direction code, I'm going to add some new checks. So I'm going to use the direction value again. So if the direction is equal to 0, we know that means that the player is not moving. So we said that when we press the left key, and the value is -1 for going left, the value is 1 for going right, but if we press nothing, the value of direction will be 0. So let us say that the animated sprite 2D dot animation should equal idle. Otherwise, let's run. And if we play that, there we go. We're actually changing animation. So when we run, but now let's add one for jumping as well, because at the moment we're just running in the air, or we can just idle in the air. So let's get the jump one in too. So we go back to animated sprite, swap to the 2D view here. I'll click on the sprite frames, and I can click sprite frames down here. Now I'll add another new animation, call this one jump. Click on our waffle, click jump. Now it's only 1 by 1 here. Click that single frame, add the frame. Now, because it's just one frame, we're not going to see anything animated. This is just the jump. So now we're ready to go back to our script, and we're going to modify slightly the code that we just made here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use one of the built-in functions to check if the player is on the floor. So if we're on the floor, then we will check for our ground-based animations, so idle and run. But if we're not on the floor, well, that must mean that we are either falling or jumping. So if we're not on the floor, then what I'm going to do is play the jump animation. So let's run that and test. So now if we run left and right, if I jump, we've got our jump animation. And when we're falling, it plays that too. So cool. So our player is now actually fully animated for the moment. The last thing I think we'll do in this video is we'll set up our own input keys for the player. So at the moment we're using some Godot defaults, so UI accept is for the space key, UI left for left arrow, and UI right for right arrow key. So we're going to set up our own controls here. So I'm going to go to project, project settings, and then the input map option. We can add our own actions. So I'm going to call this one move left. So move underscore left. Don't have any empty spaces in your name. So move left. I will have move right, move underscore right. And I'm going to make one for jumping. I will call jump. And add that. Now, with each of these, we need to add the controls we can use. So for move left, I'm going to click on the plus button next to it. And for moving left, I want the A key. I will click OK. Now, you can add multiple controls here. So I could click plus again and press the left arrow key as well. And now our move left action is tied to the A key and the left key. Now I'll do the same for the right key. I'll click the plus button. I want the D key for moving right, and perhaps the right arrow key as well. And then for jumping, I want to press the space key. So space key. I can now close that, and now I will swap these. So I'm going to do my move left that I just created, my move right, and my jump. And I'll just test that. So I run my game. I can use my my A and D keys now, or left and right, and I can use space key to jump. So that's my own custom controls rather than the Godot defaults. And that for the moment concludes our player character creation. We'll make some more modifications in the future as we add other things, but for now that's the player. And in the next video we'll have a look at actually adding terrain in and creating our level itself.